rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Here's today's prophecy update. The Bible prophesies that a superstate will soon emerge out of Europe. It also foretells that Israel and the United States will remain close friends in the end times.
We need to be ready for a world where the U.S. is not the leader of the free world anymore.
As if Ireland doesn't have enough problems to deal with domestically, we now have the German government openly calling for a federalized European superstate. Germany has a new incoming government, and that government's self-stated goal is to create a, quote, European federal state. And no, this is not a joke. The Telegraph described this as a move towards a, quote, United States of Europe, under a federalist system. Rather than having individual nation states like Portugal or the Netherlands or Ireland, we would instead have one overarching European state. All of Europe's countries would effectively become mere districts of a larger sovereign superstate.
What kind of a world order might we expect over the next 10 years? The United States was the principal exporter of democracy in the world. Today, the United States has become the principal exporter of tools that destroy democracy.
The U.S. is turning predator. And so what Canada needs to do is work closely with our democratic allies, our military allies. That's why I would start with our Nordic partners, specifically Denmark, which is also being threatened, and our European NATO allies. I would be sure that France and Britain were there, who possess nuclear weapons, and I would be working urgently with those partners to build a closer security relationship that guarantees our security in a time when the United States can be a threat. And I would also, crucially, reach out to our Asian democratic partners, Japan, South Korea, Australia. They need to be part of the conversation too. Canada can be and must be a leader in building this new order. Our allies are looking to us, and if we do this, we'll make ourselves safer as well.
Mr. Bailey.
In a speech to Germany's parliament, the French President Emmanuel Macron has once again called for their support to create a European army. Macron said the proposal for a joint intervention force would reduce the EU's dependence on the United States.
There's a quiet superpower that's been growing stronger for decades, and you haven't even noticed it. And once you see it, it's hard to look away.
We will stand up.
Enough of this cheap talking. We have to react in a very decisive way.
The Europeans have spending power, they have a military budget. This could actually change the makeup of the great power players that we see.
This is the rise of a third superpower, the European Union.
European leaders this week are to hold a summit that could lead to an anti-American European superstate. Unelected European elites want European nations to hand over what's left of their sovereignty to the European Union. Those elites want the European Union to become a superstate that would challenge U.S. global leadership. Kitty Pilgrim reports.
European leaders are gathering and conspiring to form a power bloc to counter the United States, a European superstate set up by European treaty. But the leaders of Europe are doing it quietly, without putting it up for a public vote.
They would never say such a thing. They would never say you shouldn't eat meat or, U.S. will no longer be a superpower. Why would they say such a thing? They made a prediction on what they think is going to happen in 2030. Here's some of the predictions. Number one, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. By the way, this is from their website. This is a video they produced. Number two, the U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower. Instead, a handful of countries will dominate.
This makes the EU an economic powerhouse. But all that doesn't matter much unless you have the military is the To coin a phrase from this lady,
Backstop.
backstop. It provides the necessary protections for a country to secure itself from threats both foreign and domestic. Since the end of World War II, the United States has been the dominating force globally. But just recently, and when I say recently, I mean like a month ago, something extremely interesting happened and will make you realise that the EU is no longer messing around.
Because the war in Ukraine has profoundly shaken us.
This is a defining moment. We will rethink European defense.
Okay, with all that said, what does this have to do with our present presidential elections? What's going on here? What does the future hold for the United States of America? Well, I've already tipped my hand. The U.S. is not going to be part of the kingdom of the Antichrist. That's according to Revelation 13, 1 through 2. All of the beasts in Daniel 7, which prophesies the nations that will be on earth at the time of the second coming, they're all incorporated into this one world government beast of Revelation 13, 1 through 2, except the eagle. So what does that mean then? That means we're not going to be a part of globalism and the New World Order. Now that's the biggest issue in the present presidential campaign. But what else does the Bible say? I've already read it to you. Revelation 12, 13 and 14. America will protect Israel from the Antichrist and his one world government. Joseph is calling from Florida. Joseph, make it fast.
Okay. I think it's more than a coincidence that this deal happened today, and right away the European Union stated how they were going to make plans to go on without that. To me, that says the Antichrist is setting up his camp and Lord is setting up his.
Yeah, you know, that's a really good way to put it, Joseph, that the Antichrist is setting up his camp and the Lord setting up his camp. That's really what it looks like here. And I'm glad that we're on the right side because
Amen.
I certainly would not want to be in Europe right now with the enclosing forces that are pushing Europe towards this one world government. Great contribution, Joseph. I'm sorry to cut you so short, but we're totally out of time. We appreciate it. But that's a wonderful way to look at it.
They want to work with us. It's time for us to step up at home, to urgently reach out to them and build a new world order where democracy and Canadian sovereignty is protected.
Mr. Carney, you're up next.
I'm going to associate myself. I'm going to agree with that. The only amendment I'm going to make is, unfortunately, it won't be a world order. It will be a subset of the world order because the number of like-minded countries is much smaller with the U.S. exiting. But
critically, we need a plan to defend our own borders, very particularly the Arctic, and we need to be working with our Nordic and EU NATO partners. They have nuclear weapons. We need to say to them, we need a plan to protect and defend our shared Arctic without the U.S. For the first time, the U.S., rather than guaranteeing, for the first time since the Second World War, rather than guaranteeing the rules-based order, the U.S. is turning predator. And so what Canada needs to do is work closely with our democratic allies, our military allies. I've been foreign minister. I know how to do that. That's why I would start with our Nordic partners, specifically Denmark, which is also being threatened, and our European NATO allies. I would be sure that France and Britain were there, who possess nuclear weapons, and I would be working urgently with those partners to build a closer security relationship that guarantees our security in a time when the United States can be a threat. And I would also, crucially, reach out to our Asian democratic partners, Japan, South Korea, Australia. They need to be part of the conversation too. We need to be ready for a world where the U.S. is not the leader of the free world anymore. Canada can be and must be a leader in building this new order. Our allies are looking to us. And if we do this, we'll make ourselves safer as well.
Mr. Bayless.
Thank you.